So just a quick update on the northern zone in the Kingdom of the Zoo on the almost the very end of day 17. I'm going to stop worrying about clearing the fog or not. I'm just going to be doing training videos, not dedicate too much time to this kingdom. I went on Kingdom Chat a little bit yesterday and was pointing out about the activities of Kapow in the north and how they were forcing all these other small alliances to join them or be destroyed kind of mentality, turning them into slave colonies. One of the responses, and I actually had interactions with this person in private chat for a bit earlier in the game, was that everyone was part of this big family. So that's how a lot of these big alliances that come into a kingdom think, that they're creating a big family in their kingdom, and each will take over a zone, and then they all get into the middle, and they get to be the upper class, decide for the whole kingdom. So if you're a new player coming into this kingdom, I would say don't invest any effort into this kingdom. Anytime there's a kingdom where there's a level of domination of a group of people, know that you'll always be considered a second-class citizen or a third-class citizen. I kind of think that Zone 1 is considered third-class, Zone 2 second-class, and Zone 3 are the elite. Kind of like in the world, the real world today, all this globalist elite trying to decide the whole fate of the world for everybody. Well, that's kind of how they have the mentality in this game. They don't play this game with the mentality of developing community or growing your civilization and the individuals. To them, it's all about war. Now, mind you, everyone has their different motivation, and I cover that in other videos, but this whole idea of a family, no, gangs call themselves a family too, and this is gang mentality at play, especially in this zone. Now, mind you, they may have good intentions in some of these other alliances, and I do plan on reaching out to the leaders, just ask them to watch the video, and they can go from there. I just know that the leaders of Kapow are definitely of a gang mentality. So I come over here just to see how these other small alliances are doing. And this one, they went after the central fortress because this guy, I'm pretty sure he said no to them, not becoming one of their slaves and having them take control of his alliance. And this one I have not had any interaction with, but they're also burning theirs. They're not hanging out in this one, so someone could put it out with 50 gems if you happen to be in that alliance. Now, mind you, that won't stop them from attacking again, but they don't seem to be babysitting as much. Someone asked me the name of this one, which was the same as, or similar to, except for the little s, of the alliance that they first attacked, and I was part of that alliance. If you look at let the bullying begin, you'll see I was the leader at the time. And this had been the area where they had told me to move. And it was still in the fog when they told me that. I hadn't cleared the fog. And then when I cleared the fog, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I didn't see an affiliation at the time with them, but it made me wonder, well, maybe they just put it there for them to control or whatever. But I don't know, because when I read this, they're not strong. They don't look malicious or anything. So they will eventually go after this one too. They're up in a corner. They're not near any altars, but they've definitely built up towards them. So this one will come under attack from this slave colony here. And I know people may have a concern with the fact that I'm using the word slave, but just so you know, it's used all the time to mean someone who's under the control of a master, and that is the mentality of a few of the leaders of Kapow, that they will dominate this whole zone, and then they're also moving now into Yangshuo, and those that refuse to wear their colors, like a gang would say, will be jumped and destroyed. So I'm going to kind of use that gang mentality or gang verbiage as well, because they are acting like a gang. So these two did a squeeze play over here on CINF, and now CINF has no territory. And this one is moving in over here towards THD. They're probably not, they're not near the central fortress yet. Let's see how strong they are. 10 million? No, they'll be destroyed or consumed, or by consumed I mean made into one of their slave academies. And so is this burning yet? It doesn't look like they're burning these flags yet. So it looks like at the moment they're going to stay focused on these two small ones over here, DBD and XEVR. This little guy there right up against where his central fortress is. I haven't cleared the fog yet where their border is to confirm. I'll go ahead and send someone over. But from the placement of this flag and this flag, it looks like they may have a flag right here that borders him. So his central fortress will be attacked soon as well. AOK, they've already attacked, AOK 5, they've already attacked their central fortress. And they have the squeeze play going on here between the two. They're building up towards 1TF to destroy them. Building down towards FE, and they'll probably burn or build over to here to Esna. They may wait until they actually start establishing territory and not just a central fortress, but if you belong to those alliances, no, they will not let you stay unless you put on their colors. And then this one is still a little bit safe for the moment, but they're so small that no, they will not be allowed to exist either unless they put on the KW tag. And this one too, this one looks fairly new. This one I expect there'll be a squeeze play from this one and this one. I kind of question how this one will feel about doing a squeeze play, just from interactions I had with the leader before, but I don't know. Maybe I should check to see whether the leader is the same leader, because they may have put someone else in control if he wasn't willing to be super subservient. And I think this is the same leader, so he must be just agreeing to go along to get along. But the fact that he puts this cooperate in this alliance and you will progress, to me, is an indication of the KW mentality. You're either with us or you're against us, which is not the way to build community, definitely not. That's how a lot of people think they're building this kingdom. You're either with us or you're our enemy. No, you create friends, you create allies, you create neighbors. In my first kingdom, where after the Second War, because there were bullies within these major alliances. It wasn't the leaders themselves, it was within their ranks that started the wars. And once I showed that to the leaders, war stopped and peace came, and they were like, okay, build back, start building back. And we were neighbors for a long time. They farmed on our land, we farmed on their land, no altercations. There were a few in the beginning against me personally because of the person that I had shown the evidence against, of who had started the Second War. And he sent people from across the kingdom to attack my city. But other than that, we got along. We reached out to our neighbors and we tried to get them to work with us. And some did, and one just stayed silent and then started attacking our flags. It's kind of funny how that all came about, because they were asleep for a long time. Their leaders had left. A new leader was in charge. He didn't pay any attention, and it's been interesting the way you bring in an officer, and that officer decides to start going after flags and of the neighbors, and he thinks he's doing it for the benefit of his alliance, not even knowing what terms his alliance have with the neighbors. So it's really important you understand the vision of your leaders in this game. A lot of the leaders don't, how do I put this? A lot of the leaders have a vision of domination like Kapow, and you may not have that vision, so if you don't, why are you serving them? You might want to start questioning that. You might want to question that early on rather than later, because later you'll have such a weak kingdom and you won't know where to go. That's what happened in my first kingdom. So many of the major alliances moved out to other kingdoms and was left with one large kingdom with one large bully, and he's recruiting from other kingdoms, so he's strengthening his kingdom. it's interesting, that dynamic. And I'll share more about those stories, I think, at this point, rather than focus on this kingdom. I'll still try to help a few of these reach out to other alliances and hope that maybe their leaders don't have the same mentality of kicking everyone out who's a smaller player. I always find it amazing how they just measure the size of your city and the strength of your city and not the skills of the actual player. They don't treat each of these cities as the player. They treat them just as what the city looks like from the outside. So really it's all about just superficial appearances and not about the character and the intelligence of the actual player. So that kind of makes this game difficult, because usually when you enter a game, you know the same rules, you apply the same rules, if someone breaks the rules, you have something to refer to say, well, no, these are the rules of the game. You know, everyone tries to make things to their advantage to some extent. Well, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people who play games, they want the advantage, and sometimes they'll bend the rules a little, especially the children. That's so much fun playing games with children. And I think a lot of these people in these alliances are children. One leader, after watching the Let the Bullying Begin, told me he didn't think that main person in there was actually 21. And I didn't ask if he thought he was older or younger. I imagine he thought he was younger. But you don't know. A lot of the players in these games are very, very young players. I have an 8-year-old in one of my alliances, so I have to protect him from the things that people will say. And I can't tell him not to play, but I hope he plays with his family. So I have no doubt that all of these small alliances will be attacked if they don't become a KW. I suspect that this one will be one of the next ones because of the squeeze play possible here. And they are a part of a group of AOKs, and already they're being attacked down here. Oops, sorry. Down here, and then another AOK I think has already disappeared. There was another AOK, I believe. So I'm just going to sign off for now. I probably will start focusing more on newbie training, and I did form my so-called roundtable alliance to try to open the doors for people who want to have dialogues if anyone ever does. Feel free to reach out to this alliance. The Simba is the leader, the Tiger is the R4. They're both my cities. I'm not going to build these cities anymore. I'll just leave them in the kingdom. I went ahead and sent the scouts out. I think I'm going to do an experiment with them as to, I'm going to build up all of these just enough that they're producing, and then I'll see over time how much you produce without going out to gather, because anytime I go out to gather, they just attack anyways. So I would rather not put much effort into these cities at this time and just do my regular new training, and I'll start sharing the stories from the Kingdom of Bullies, because it's in the one-on-one interactions that I find the most response to what I'm saying. How do I put this? I have been building up communities for more than 30 years, and I have to work with individuals to make that happen, and it's in the individual interactions that you start seeing people get glimpses of new perspectives, new ways of looking at things, and coming together. And then, of course, you bring them together in a group, and then the magic really happens, because then by the time that they have those interactions, they've already got their eyes opened a bit so that they can start looking at a situation or an issue or a possibility or an idea through the lens of another person when that other person speaks, because they've already started doing so with me. And it really is magic. It truly is magic when you have a community start working together after you've dealt with working with the individuals one-on-one a bit. Of course, a lot of times, because of who I am, I've already come in with a level of authority, so they listen a little bit more closely to what I have to say, because they already have that idea that I have something to teach them. So, and we don't have that in this game, and I'm okay with that, except for the fact that I shouldn't say I don't have a level of authority. when people start talking to me because of the words I use, they begin to realize I'm not your normal, average, every kind of person. Anyone who meets me in person, from the moment they meet me, they know that it's something different. And in this game, people are seeing that too when they start having the one-on-one interactions with me. So I'm going to leave it there and sign off and wish you Godspeed and play well. Just play well. Play with integrity, play with character. Do not buy the games of the bullies and the gangsters and the thugs. If they exist in your kingdom, find a new kingdom. Okay, signing off.